In this video, we're going to take a look at the payment function. Payment function can be used in two ways. It can determine the payment on a loan, which is probably the most common use, but it can also be used to let you know how much you need to save to reach a particular savings goal at some point in the future. Okay. We have our little template set up here, which is the same on every single one of these sheets here. So I've got some of the answers filled in on the other ones, but it's the same template every time. We just have to figure out what the numbers are and fill them in. And the number of periods is always the periods per year times the number of years, and the rate per period is always the annual rate divided by the periods per year. Okay. So here's the problem we want to solve. We want to determine how much we will have to save monthly if we start with $10,000. So that would be your present value, 10,000, and we're trying to figure out what the payment is, so we'll just fill that in gray, and we'll put the answer over here in the blue box. And then we will click on the regular deposit, and I'm sorry, then we'll click on periods per year, and it's going to be 12 periods per year, and the number of years it says is 20. The annual interest rate is 8.00%, and the ending balance is we want to reach 100,000. Okay. And if you do 12 periods a year for 20 years, you're going to get 240. If you take an annual rate of 8% divided by 12, you get 2/3%, which is what we have here. And it looks like we are doing this at the beginning of the month. 1 is the code for beginning. Okay, so now let's go over here to the payment function, and as usual we'll go to our formulas tab, we'll go to the financial group, and we'll scroll down to the P's, and there's the PMT function, and the rate is always going to be the rate per period. Do not click on the annual rate. So this is our rate per period. The number of periods is going to be 240. Make sure you get 240 over here. The present value is how much you have already saved. And remember that this is a negative number because payments in these problems are always a negative number. And you can always look at the amount that you put in the bank in a savings account as the sum of a bunch of payments. And if those numbers were negative and you had a bunch of negative numbers up, you're going to get a negative number. So we need to put a minus sign before we click on the present value or the beginning balance. The future value is 100,000, and the type is going to be the 1 down here in C10. And let's click on OK. And it appears that all we have to do is to reach that goal. 20 years is quite a while to save $90,000. Just have to save $85.56 a month. That is a negative number because the payment is always a negative number. So if we don't want it to be negative, which I don't, then we're going to put a minus sign in front of the PMT function and hit enter. And now it appears as a positive number instead of a negative number. So that's how you use the payment function in a savings problem as opposed to a loan problem.